Hey, it's your guy Tyrrell back with the interviews. In today's video, we're going to briefly analyze the key tactical themes in Chelsea's narrow 1-0 win over Zenit. So in today's video, first we're going to focus on how Zenit frustrated Chelsea specifically in the first half. Then we'll shift to how Tuchel adjusted in the second half. And lastly, we'll focus on the defensive issues that Chelsea encountered against this Zenit attack. So when we break it all down and we do look at the board, we have Chelsea in a 3-4-2-1, and we ended up seeing Zenit shift to a 5-4-1. So when you look at how Zenit looked to approach the game out of possession, it should have been very simple. And in terms of a higher press, you would have the front three closing the back three, the wing backs stepping forward to Alonso and James, and then Kovacic and Wendell stepping towards Kovacic and Jorginho. We didn't necessarily get that on a consistent basis, and there were times where Zenit did allow the center backs to get on the ball. They had Azmoun in between Jorginho and Kovacic, and that's when you would see Claudinho and Malcolm tuck in narrow to form the midfield four. And ultimately what was important to Zenit's tactical approach was that they didn't want to concede the center of the pitch to Chelsea. They were fine with allowing James and Alonso to push forward to deal with their wingbacks, but in that midfield zone, they were attempting to ensure that Jorginho and Kovacic couldn't get on the ball consistently, and they were looking to block off the passing lanes into Ziyech and Mason Mount, while ensuring that when Lukaku was looking to back into a center back, that he was quickly swarmed when he did receive possession. Ultimately, there were occasions where you did have Claudinho or Malcolm stepping towards Rudiger, but for the most part, that midfield bank was very narrow, and the reason being that Ziyech and Mason Mount weren't consistently sticking on the center backs. They were looking to drop off deeper, and even if they made runs behind the wing backs, they would be tracked in that zone, but they were looking to drop off deeper to receive the ball between the lines, and that's when you would expect a center back to step forward to close them down tightly. Here you could see Christensen sliding the ball across Claudinho and Azmoun to find Mount towards the left of Wendell. But when he does receive the ball, it's Wendell and Reece who do step tight to close him down. Here you could see Jorginho on the ball, and you could see a poor Zenit shape with Claudinho nor Kovacic looking to block off the passing lane. But even if that pass is played into Ziyech, that's where you have Reece looking to step forward to close him down. Here's Kovacic sliding the ball across Claudinho into the path of Mason Mount free between the lines. But as he looks to step forward, it's Barrios who comes across to sweep up. But what we ended up seeing that was important from Zenit was that they did have the wider players blocking off the passing lane into Mount and Ziyech. And the only real time when they needed the center backs to step forward was when Kovacic and Wendell looked to close down Jorginho and Kovacic. There were times where the Zenit midfield duo did sit off and stayed compressed and narrow, and that was when Ziyech or Mason Mount looked to shift centrally to receive the ball between the lines, and they simply ensured that they blocked off the passing lane to one of those attacking midfielders. Here you see no pressure on the Chelsea center backs, and you have Jorginho and Kovacic on either side of Azmoun, but focus on Kovacic blocking off the passing lane into Mason Mount, and Wendell shifting over to deal with Ziyech. This is another example of no pressure on the center backs, and you could see both Wendell and Kovacic blocking off the passing lane into Mason Mount and Ziyech, and that also sees Lukaku in a 1v2 against Barrios and Chistakov. Once again, it's Azpilicueta stepping into Zenit's half, and you could see Claudinho blocking off the passing lane into Ziyech, who is closed down within close proximity by Santos, Wendell, and Reece, who is looking to step forward. But even in the penalty area where you do have Lukaku calling for the ball ahead of Chistakov, Barrios is prepared to shift over for cover. Here you can see Jorginho stepping forward in towards Zenit's half, and that's where you see Lukaku looking to make a run off Chistakov in behind the Zenit backline. But from that position, he opts to shift the ball out to Azpilicueta, and you can see the 1v2 being assembled with Reece shifting across. And even on the rare occasion where you had Malcolm blocking off the passing lane into Mount and Barrios prepared to step forward, if the Zenit midfielders weren't stepping towards Jorginho and Kovacic, and you had Ziyech shifting into a central position, there would be times where you would see Wendell stepping forward to close down Kovacic, and then Kovacic would look to deal with Ziyech. Even if Ziyech was in that zone near Reece James and you had Kovacic and Wendell stepping towards Kovacic, if Mount looked to shift away from Barrios, then Malcolm would shift away from that right-hand zone and he would tuck in narrow to deal with Mount and vice versa. If Mount was closed down by Barrios and you had Ziyech shifting into a central midfield position with Kovacic and Wendell stepping towards the Chelsea midfield duo, then there were times where Claudinho would drop off to stick with Ziyech to ensure that yet one of the center backs wouldn't have to step forward to close him down. This is not to say that Chelsea didn't find ways to breach that midfield bank. There were times where Claudinho and Malcolm simply weren't blocking off the passing lanes into Ziyech or Mount. And that's where you ended up having Kovacic in particular picking up the ball in those deeper midfield positions and breaking those lines to find Mount or Ziyech. And there were even times where you had Azpilicueta stepping forward to do that, or simply Ziyech or Mount dropping off ahead of the midfield bank to attempt to find Lukaku. The problem here is that with Ziyech or Mount dropping ahead of the midfield bank, that leaves a center back free, and if they were able to fizz the ball into Lukaku, he would be backing into a marker, and the spare center back would have time to shift across, while the deep midfield duo dropped off deeper to close down that space. Here you could see Kovacic just ahead of Wendell, bypassing the Zenit midfielder to fizz the ball into Lukaku. And while Kovacic and Ziyech do look to run off Wendell for the link-up play, you could see Lukaku is closed down by 3 Zenit center backs, and when that ball is played back to Ziyech, the shot is blocked. Here you could see Jorginho on the ball, and you have Kuzayev blocking off the passing lane into Ziyech, so Jorginho opts to split the midfield duo to playing Lukaku, who's backing into Kristikov, and you could see Barrios shifting across to make it a 1v2. And when Lukaku receives the ball, he's looking to play it into the path of Ziyech, who's looking for the link-up play, but that's where you end up seeing all 3 center backs swarming Lukaku, and that shot's eventually blocked. Here you can see Jorginho in an inside right position, bypassing the midfield duo to find Mason Mount, who is shifting laterally into the central area, and you could also see Ziyech being occupied by Rakitsky. When that pass is played to Mount, he's able to turn to carry it towards goal, and he looks to slide it across Chistakov to playing Lukaku as Barrios and Rakitsky are shifting across for cover. And when that pass is played, it's Rakitsky who does get across to poke away the danger. This is not to say that Lukaku didn't get himself into positions where he could be isolated against the center back, but on the occasions where his teammates were able to play direct long balls over the top, they either hesitated or they played overhit passes. Here's an example of Azpilicueta carrying the ball towards the final third, and while he can slide the ball out to James, look at the penalty area where you have Alonso looking to make a run in between Barrios and the right wing back, and Lukaku looking to peel off the center back. But in that situation, Azpilicueta opts to slide the ball out to James. Here you can see Jorginho on the ball in Zenit's half, and focus on their shape. You have Rakitsky looking to step forward into the path of Ziyech, but Barrios is pulled out by Mason Mount, and that's when Lukaku's looking to peel off Chistakov. However, when Jorginho plays that ball over the top, you could see Lukaku running off the center back, and he has to chest this ball down and then fire it with this first touch. But when he does bring the ball down to control, Chistakov does a very good job of shifting across to deal with the threat. Therefore, when you question how Chelsea were able to get a grip of the game, what ended up happening was that they were simply playing quicker balls into the striker, specifically from Rudiger or Azpilicueta stepping forward and looking to meet the runs of Ziyech or Mount into those advanced positions. They were making forward runs in between the gaps and occupying center backs. Another factor that played a key role was Kovacic dropping off into the inside left channel to get on the ball. For the most part, he was looking to get deeper on either side of Azmoun, similar to Jorginho in that opening half, to pick up possession. But in the second half, he shifted more to the left, and he was looking to play those vertical penetrative passes in towards his front line. We also saw Mason Mount looking to pick up the ball from deeper positions on the outside of Malcolm or Claudinho, and then he was looking to carry the ball into advanced positions before playing a penetrative pass in towards the channels or Lukaku. That's Mount picking up the ball ahead of his center back marker, and to his left you could see Wendell and Claudinho not stepping towards him, and that allows him to play a first time ball into Lukaku backing into a center back. You could also see James making a run across Santos, and when Lukaku receives that ball, although he is closed down by 3, James is already making his run beyond the left wing back, and when Lukaku pokes the ball into right half space, from this position James is closed down quickly, and that results in him firing a low effort into side netting. The other issue with Chelsea's structure is that they didn't have enough presence around the penalty area. Besides Lukaku, who was often closed down by at least 2 or 3 Zenit center backs, Ziyech and Mount were dropping off deeper and they were looking to run on to link-up play. The only real aerial presence besides Lukaku was Alonso when he shifted into central positions. This is why Tuchel ended up replacing Ziyech with Havertz. And as you can see, even in the build-up to the goal, yes, it does start with Azpilicueta finally playing a proper pass. You could see Havertz making a run towards the box, dragging away a defender, and ensuring that Lukaku has one less defender to deal with as he rises high to put Chelsea ahead. Ultimately, there were two issues that Chelsea encountered from a defensive aspect against Zenit. One was the third man running from midfield, and what we often saw was that it was either a center back or a wing back looking to pull out Chelsea's wing back, and then they were looking to fizz a ball towards one of the front three to pull out a center back, and then he was looking to instantly link play with Kovacic or Wendell, who were making runs off Ziyech, Mount, or Jorginho and Kovacic to break forward. As Zenit looked to break, here you could see Claudinho on the ball and pulling away Jorginho and Kovacic near him, and that's where you see Wendell making the run off Kovacic, and as he backheels the ball towards his midfield teammate, you could see that Wendell does bypass both midfielders, and as he does overtouch the ball and Chelsea are able to halt that attack, it falls back into the path of Claudinho, and from that position he's just ahead of Jorginho and Kovacic, and once again he bypasses them both to play in Azmoun, who's looking to break beyond a poorly positioned Azpilicueta. Azpilicueta tries his best to recover, and he does poke the ball into the path of Azmoun, but when he breaks into the penalty area, it's Rudiger who got across to make a final last-ditch tackle. Shortly after that, once again it's Barrios carrying the ball forward, Mount shifting across to apply pressure, but once again, the right center back splits Kovacic and Alonso to play the ball into the path of Azmoun, who is pulling out Christensen. But focus on Wendell's positioning just beyond Kovacic. Azmoun slides the ball out to Malcolm, and while he does pull out Rudiger, now you could see Azmoun making a run off Christensen, and Wendell running beyond Kovacic and Jorginho to break into space behind this Chelsea center back. However, when that ball is clipped over the top, Wendell does well to control it as Azmoun's continuing his run across Christensen, but his first touch is poor, and Christensen's able to clear the lines. And then we can look to a switcher play that sees Sutorman nod the ball across Alonso stepping high, and that ball is played into the path of Malcolm, which drags Rudiger into Zenit's half, and you also begin to see Kovacic looking to make a run off Kovacic. Malcolm does well to retain possession and drop the ball off to his right wing back, who's already beyond Alonso and looking to slide the ball in between Rudiger and Kovacic, for Kovacic making a run beyond the two Chelsea players to break free into the right channel, and although he does that well, Kovacic does an even better job of tracking that run and making a tackle in that area to help Chelsea regain possession. And then the other issue that Tuchel's men encountered was that Zenit got into some of their best positions when they looked to isolate Azpilicueta in terms of aerial duels, and they were able to either drag a center back out of position and then have runners break in behind to join the attack. So as you can see, this proved to be a sturdy test for Tuchel's men, and while Zenit's midfield running presented a few issues, a combination of Lukaku's clinical finishing and additional penetration was enough to secure maximum points.